I'll leave you on this. My sister did like the 23andMe thing during COVID, where you like spit in a cup and send it away, and they tell you that you're white. Look at your face, Sophie. Idiot. She was like, oh no, it's actually like, it was pretty interesting around. We came back, it's German as well as Irish. I was like, oh fuck, why didn't we know about that? We're escaping some unrelated war crimes. What's going on there? And then I smoked about 1,000 bongs and looked at myself in the mirror and was like, I am a Nazi. This is a Nazi face. And then my mum called me like a week later and was like, Rohan, can you stop saying that we're Nazis on Facebook? Totally, Mum. Are we Nazis? She's like, no, they like immigrated in the 1920s. So it's like impossible that they were Nazis. I was like, sick. Alright, why did they leave Germany? And she was like, oh, apparently it was getting too Jewy for their liking. I don't know about that. Alright guys, we're going to start the show. Welcome to the stage. You've seen her on ABC, you've seen her on SBS, you've seen her in an AVO waiting room. Here she is, the queen herself, Sian Smyth.
I need to get the AVO. I got arrested on my way to get the AVO. Now that I'm not being controlled anymore, I'm able to live my own horrific nightmare. It's good. Man, how's everyone's 2021 going? Whoa. Mine's a bit... My friend, she was giving me some advice on staying on top of my mental health. She said, Sian, what you got to do is you got to have a mental health calendar. And every day you got to put your mood out of 10, and then you look back on that week and you just do more of what you did on the days you rated the highest, which makes a lot of sense. So it turns out I just got to do a lot more ketamine. And I'll be absolutely fine. Look guys, I'm risking getting murdered to do this show, so I think you guys can pull down your fucking masks. You motherfuckers. I literally am. Like, he would be, ooh, he's mad. Don't want to be alone with that cunt. Man, no, it's good. Man, no. Now, do you remember drug education when you were a kid? Yeah, what a fucking failure that was, right? Yeah, your parents and your teachers, they'd tell you, they'd say, don't take drugs, because drugs are for losers. And I've grown up understand what they're saying, drugs are for losers. But I also think if you've, never, ever taken drugs, you're an even bigger fucking loser. Just suck some cock in an alleyway for crack and get a personality, please. Is that just me? No, my troubles began when I was 12. When I was 12, I watched that movie Trainspotting. You've seen it? You've seen it. Changed my fucking life, I was like, when I grow up, I'm going to be a drug addict. And I've grown up, and I've achieved my dream. And it's hard because, your drug and alcohol counselors, they say stuff to you like, well, Sian, what would 12-year-old Sian think of you? And it's like, well, she'd be thrilled. Man, no, you get a lot of bad advice coming off drugs. People say, oh, Sian, have you tried turmeric latte? Have you tried a bit of that turmeric latte? It's like no amount of turmeric latte is going to make you forget about that time your uncle called you sexy on Christmas. Only heroin can do that. Man, what about that, what about that Ivan Milat? Remember him, that fucking ray of sunshine? I was watching a documentary on that Ivan Milat, and I was watching a documentary, and they were interviewing the main investigator involved in the case, and the main investigator said, what we knew at the time about the suspect is that the suspect we were looking for, by the nature of the crimes, is that the suspect we were looking for was bisexual, And I don't necessarily think the fact that Ivan Milat chose to rape and murder both women and men necessarily means he is bisexual. You know, like, I don't ever think Ivan Milat was ever just raping and murdering women, and then he thought, I'm lying to myself. Ivan Milat, my pronouns are they, them. Please respect them while I break your spine and rape your ass. Let's have a bit of fun tonight. Man, did you know that a woman loses 3 tablespoons of blood every time you punch her in the face? Tell everyone. Oh, no, don't. Come on, you can better fucking lighten up if you can't handle that, because it's gonna get... Like, lighten the fuck up. Take a deep fucking breath. Take a deep, deep fucking breath, motherfuckers. And then we're gonna go on a fucking ride, but I'm warming you up, and if you can't handle that cunt, then fucking... I don't know why you're here, mate. No, I used to do this job, right, where we used to go into prisons and we used to meet inmates. And one time we were going to meet these guys and they've been convicted of murder, and that was pretty intense. And after a while with these guys, I just had to ask them, you know, so like, how'd you murder them? And one of the guards brought me aside and he was like, Sian, you can't ask him that. It's rude. Like, oh, okay, so I'm the rude one. And they kept going on, they were like, you gotta have boundaries with these guys, you gotta have boundaries. But I just don't think boundaries are that important when you're talking to like a convicted serial killer, you know? Like, I kind of feel like I could tell that cunt anything. Like, yeah, I wanted to fuck someone who looked like my dad once. Like, what are you gonna do, fucking judge me? Man, what about that Gandhi? What about him? Remember him? Gandhi. Now, Gandhi, he definitely didn't use violence, but he did use, like, emotional manipulation, right? Like, he was like, hey, England, give us our independence. And they were like, no. And he was like, fine, I'll fucking starve myself. And it's like, I've heard that one. But I always think, like, what if that was just Gandhi's cover? And he was just covering up, like, a terrible eating disorder? Right? Like, to the public, he was like, I'm doing it for you guys. But when he got home and was alone, he was like, Gandhi, you're a fat whore! Oh, man. My ex-boyfriend told me I look like Gollum. Oh, red flag! But, like, red flag, didn't see it at the time, just thought it was funny. But, like, at least I wasn't fucking someone who looks like Gollum, so, you know, I guess I win. But, body dysmorphia. Now, that's not something that you'd want to go to the doctor for and then find out that you don't have. You know, you're like, hey doc, I think I got body dysmorphia. He's like, nah, you're just very level-headed. You're definitely a 3. I'm currently being treated for mania. The doctor said, is your sex drive increased? I said, who's asking? No, I did try and get treated for mania, but then it turned out I was just being gaslit to an extreme. But oh man, a lot of Northern English people have joined ISIS. Have you heard that? I was watching a documentary about it. A lot of Northern Englishers have been joining ISIS. How fucking random is that? ISIS will like reach out to them on Twitter and convince them to join the Islamic State, which makes me think that the Syrian-Iraqi border would be a lot like the Australian outback. You know, full of Northern English backpackers. Except this time they're not fucking fruit picking. This time they're like, Allah Akbar, innit? They're like, heard under Sharia law you can have like 7 wives, wouldn't mind a bit of that. My ex-boyfriend was in Al-Qaeda. You know? He was okay. You know, I I just didn't like his friends. Like, you know when a guy's like really good one-on-one, but then when he gets with his friends, he just turns into a bit of a dick. And I didn't like who I turned into around him, you know. I'd be wearing a suicide vest in Martin Place. And I'd be like, this isn't me. I love your passion, baby, but this isn't me. When I say my ex-boyfriend was in Al-Qaeda, he kind of was. And it wasn't cute Lebanese couple owning the kebab shop, you know. I had so many. Sorry, I fucked that joke up. I had so many forbidden friends. They were like forbidden under Sharia law, you know. And it wasn't like cute, like Lebanese couple in the kebab shop Sharia law. It was like fucking Islamic State Sharia law. Like, I'll shove you to the ground if you fucking talk to that cunt Sharia law. You guys are gonna have to line the fuck up. You guys are it's gonna get rapey in here, so can we all take a deep breath? Come on, motherfuckers! Motherfuckers! Nah, you're not my audience, but I'm gonna fucking do it anyway. I've got like long lost friends in the audience tonight who are gonna be like, Sian, you didn't tell us any of this. I'm gonna be like, yes, prize! I've been living in a horrific nightmare for the past 8 years. I'm not allowed to say that because of defamation, but I don't really give a shit. Nah, man, I was reading up about that Osama bin Laden. Remember him, Osama bin Laden? Now, I read that Osama bin Laden used to read poetry to his kids before they went to sleep at night. You know, that's not a great thing to find out. You know, that the guy that orchestrated 9/11 did a better job at parenting than my father ever did. Like, while Osama bin Laden was reading poetry to his kids at nighttime, my dad had abandoned us and was in Bali getting a tattoo that said loyalty. And when my dad abandoned us, he didn't only abandon me, but he'd send me pictures of his travels. Like, it's one thing to abandon your family, it's another thing to show them how much fun you're having without them. It's like, here's me in Nevada, daughter. It's like, well, good to know you got a bit of wanderlust, Dad. Good to know. Man, I was diagnosed with the most severe case of ADHD my psychiatrist had ever seen. So it's good to know that I'm the best at something. But my ADHD and my daddy issues mean I have really poor judgment. Like my best friend growing up in school, the first thing she said to me when we sat together in class, the first thing she said to me is she pointed to another girl at the side of the room and she said, Sian, I hate that girl so much. I'm gonna cut her vagina into 1,000,000 fucking pieces. And I'm just gonna be like, and I was just like, this girl's a hoot. You know? And that's where my problems began. Yeah, I got stuck in a pretty dysfunctional relationship. I went through a bit of that DV, bit of the old DV. Give me a round of applause. But look, before I get into it, there's definitely different levels of There's definitely different levels. Like when like my friend called me up, and when she found out I was going through it, she was like, hey sis, I went through the same thing. You used to chain me up to the bed and rape me and stomp on my head. And I was like, alright, well, I never did that to me. Mine was a much more inner west Newtown PG-13 TV, I think we'll call it. But no, the first time my partner raped me, it was obvious. Because I said no, and he said, I'll kill myself if you don't make me come. And I thought, well, you can't argue with that, you know. Oh, I don't want this ray of sunshine to kill himself. And I was mad about that. I was mad about that. But because of my abandonment issues, I was more mad about the fact that he didn't come on holidays with me to the Gold Coast straight after. Like, I was like, come on, babe, relax and unwind after that big old rape. Kick back and relax. I didn't even want to send him to jail. I wanted him to go on a summer holiday. Like, oh my God, you're just in such a fucking world. No, one one time, like, he smashed a phone in my face and, like, cracked my head open because I was making too many memes. And I'll tell ya, it's pretty bad for your self-esteem when someone wants to murder you for being yourself, you know? pretty fucking bad. Like one time, this is just so cathartic, and like, and at time, like I had to know at one point. I was like, I have to know that I'm not just bringing this on myself, because my partner never hit me, so it took me a long time to work out that it was domestic violence. He just used to shove his teeth in my face all the time, and I was like, well, it's not domestic violence, he's just trying to bite me. So one night, while he was spazzing out about whatever he was spazzing out about, I should probably remember so it doesn't happen again, but too bad, cunt, I forget. And I closed the door and I lay on the floor, and he picked me up and he threw me. I was like, well, I definitely didn't deserve that one. But all the other times, well, I deserved it. Because I thought it was to be the one situation of domestic violence where I deserved it, you know, for making too many memes. Oh man, no, he controlled everything, man. He controlled everything. He controlled what I fucking talked about. Like, I wasn't allowed to talk about, Osama bin Laden. I wasn't allowed to talk about Osama bin Laden because he knew more about Osama bin Laden than what I did. And like at the time, you're just living in their ridiculous narrative. You're just living in their narrative. And he was like getting so angry at me for talking about Osama bin Laden. I was like, oh, sorry, babe. I'm so sorry, babe. But you know way more about Osama bin Laden than what I do. And like, look, I don't know if you guys have ever had a fight about Osama bin Laden. But it is truly just fucking ridiculous. But it just got so out of control. It got so fucking out of control. I ended up in a refuge. But I was gaslit. I was so gaslit to an extreme that I thought I was the abusive one. And then I was sitting there in the refuge thinking I was the abusive one. And I was like, but wait a second. If you were the one with your hands around my neck, and I'm here, but I'm here and you're at home, then why am I here? You know? But I'm the abuser. I fucked that one up, whatever. But I didn't know what to tell him, so I told him I was going to a place where abusive women go to learn how not to abuse their partners anymore. And he said, okay, babe, that sounds good. And I told that to the women in the refuge, and they were like, what a dumb cunt. And if a bunch of low socioeconomic, drug-fucked, uneducated women call you a dumb cunt, you're a fucking dumb cunt. Man, they couldn't get their head, and no one at the refuge could get no one in the refuge could get their fucking head around my name, Sean. So my name was Shazza. Like, Shazza is my hood name. And that's Shazza MC, brother. And they'd get mad at me. Like, I had this one friend, Jail Mama. She was a sweet girl. They say most domestic violence victims are empaths, but she wasn't much of an empath. Anyway. She'd been in 10 domestic violence relationships in her life, and I was like, at what point do you start to look at yourself? But man, she'd like get angry at me for being untidy, like, because of my ADHD, I'm very untidy, and she'd like get angry at me for being untidy, and I was like, yeah, babe, and you smoke meth while pregnant, so, you know, we all have our fucking faults here. Oh, man. But when I was at the refuge, there was two things that I noticed that all us girls had in common. There were two things that we all had in common. Our dads leaving us, and our mums not knowing to handle when we were in a crisis. Like, my mum is the nicest woman you'll ever meet, but also, like, the most fucking retarded. Like, she's so nice, but she would, but during my childhood, she, invited junkies to come and live with us. like just a bunch of fucking junkies. She was like, come live with us. It'll be fun. Like, it's amazing I wasn't sexually abused as a child. It's fucking incredible. Give me that was one way I haven't been abused. I wasn't sexually abused as a child, so I'm not fucked in the head. Anyway, no, we'll talk about that later. No, what was I going to talk about? Wait, where am I? No, but like, but she sold our childhood house. She sold my childhood house, and she was like, Shan, are you upset that I've sold your childhood home? And I was like, well, Mum, you let fucking junkies fuck prostitutes in my childhood bedroom for the past 5 fucking years, so any sentimentality is surely gone at this point, you know? But she's lovely, but during this whole thing, I was like to her, but Mum, I told you when he raped me, why didn't you tell me to leave him then? She was like, Shan, I forgot. And I understand, like, forgetting to pick your kid up from fucking preschool or whatever. But she's like a mental health nurse. I think she just hears crazy shit, like, all the time. She just loses track, and she's just like, sure, Shan, everyone was raped in 1950s Ireland, like... Jesus Christ. No, but I had this thought, during it all. I had this thought when I was sitting in the refuge, and I was like, wait, if they do it once, they do it again, right? And I was like, oh my fucking God, he's done it so many fucking times. And I called the DV hotline, and you know, you're not allowed to swear on the phone to the DV hotline. Yeah, that's pretty posh. Like, they take their domestic violence with some tea and crumpets. But they were like, what did he say to you? And I was like, he always used to say stuff like I can't control myself when I'm around you, I can't resist you. And they were like, Shan, that's coercion. And that's a form of sexual assault. And I was like, holy fuck it. And I was like, oi, oi, oi. I thought he was only being physically and emotionally abusive. You mean he was sexually abusing me as well? Oh, Jesus Christ. But he didn't know what he was doing, right? And oh no, they always know what they're doing. I was like, oh, oi, oi, oi. This just makes it so much more horrific. Oh man. And one trauma response that you have to like ongoing sexual abuse, one trauma response you have to that is that you just start cutting your legs ferociously. So while I was in the refuge, I just like couldn't fucking handle it, and I was just like cutting my legs ferociously. And the lady who ran the refuge, she was cleaning up my room one day and packing all my stuff and bringing it to another room, and she was packing up my bag. And she found the razor blade, and she was like, what is this for? And I was like, oh, it's just how I've been dealing with 8 years of sexual abuse, and it's the only thing that helps me sleep at night. And then she was like, oh, all right. And she popped it back in the bag with all my stuff to be Because her job was to help people, so she was like, well, whatever helps you sleep at night. And but it wasn't all bad. Like in these relationships, like when the times are good, they are so fucking good, man. They are so fucking good. And I always felt like he taught me so much about books and so much about the world around me. And he told me that I taught him so much about feminism. I don't think I taught you anything about feminism. You know what I'm saying? Oh man. Oh man. No, I tell you, you don't get involved in your DV situation. Fucking social justice warriors. That was where I went so fucking wrong. Holy shit, did I go wrong there? I got a social justice warrior involved, and I was like, whatever you do, you cannot confront him, and you cannot tell anyone. And what did she do? She fucking confronted him, and I had the fucking biggest mental breakdown. I had the biggest breakdown. I couldn't even fucking talk. and I was like, you're gonna have to drive me to hospital because, like, and all I could say was, everyone is so retarded. Everyone is so retarded. And she was like, Sian, you can't say retard. And I was like, bitch, do I have some kind of speech impediment? There is a time and place for political correctness, and the time is not when I'm about to be fucking murdered. Oh man. Jesus Christ. And she was like, we gotta warn other women, we gotta warn other women. And I was like, he's not gonna break into random women's houses and fucking rape them. He's got to get to know them really, really fucking well before he does that. You know? But you don't do that, because then the person, they're more... Ooh. That was one hell of a day. Oh man, you also... Cops, man, you don't get them involved. Like, cops have a pretty high rate of suicide. Like, can I get a round of applause? Yeah, but I get it, you know, I get it. I'd want to kill myself too if sometimes my colleague was a dog. Like, imagine a dog having a higher ranking than you. They're like, sorry mate, we can only trust Buster with this one. But, oh man, but you don't get the cops involved. The cop came up to me and he was like to me, well Sian, why didn't you leave after he sexually assaulted you? And I was like, well, I took a 15-minute breather. I did a little walk around the block, and then I was back for more action. Oh man. But shit was getting so intense, and during it, at one point, I was still gigging at this point. At one point, I was still gigging, and a car, and I had to stop a random car in the middle of the road. That's when you know shit's bad, when it's more safe to fucking stop a car in the middle of the road than it is to go home and get your key card. And I stopped this random car in the middle of the road, and I just hitchhiked to a gig one night. And after it, I called my ex-partner, and I was like, because you're just in this never-ending fucking spiral that just goes around and around and around. And we were just talking, and I was talking to him, and I was like, yeah, babe, I got in like a random car tonight with a random dude, and he was like, Bub, that's really dangerous. Like, only I may rape and bash you. Only you, good sir. And you know those, one time, you know those like lazy hand jobs you give? Like when you really like can't be fucked? Those fucking lazy hand jobs. I did that once, and he like got really angry at me, and he like smashed my pussy. And I was like, babe, say sorry for that. He was like, well, sorry! It's like, well, excuse me. Well, excuse you, good sir. And then after I left, I split contact with him. I stopped contacting him, and then he started contacting my mum. So that's what these psychopaths do. They start contacting your parents, and he started texting my mum, and he was texting my mum, being like, I don't know why Sian is doing this to me. Like, she's making all these accusations against me. All I've ever tried to do is be a good partner to her. And it's like, yeah, babe, because that weird biting of the face thing and rape are in every classic romantic comedy. Like, Hugh Grant won the Academy Award for Best Rape Scene in Love Actually. Oh, man. But no, like, now I found out that he's fucking this chick I hate. So, like, it's good to know that I don't have to be the one to try choke her out. Have fun, bitch. But man, this shit can happen to anyone. Like I'm a social worker. I'm aware I may come across more as someone who should have one. I do have one. But like people ask me, Sian, like, did you become a social worker because you had a really hard life and you wanted to like change the lives of people around you? But the truth is, I just always really enjoyed being screamed in the face by people coming down off 3-day ice benders. You know, but I'm a social worker, so I understand that these things are a cycle. They're a cycle. And the day he was meant to leave the house, he called me and he was like, I can't leave today because Dad just bashed Mum. And I was like, babe, this really isn't my problem anymore. And he was like, you don't know what it's like! Yeah, I do. I know exactly what it's like, mister. You know? And then he was like, and then when you start telling people, that's the fucking worst part. They hate it when you start telling people. And he was like, you're not telling people why. It's like, it's not about why. And I am telling people why. It's because you were sexually abused as a child and it's made you fucking retarded or some shit. It's like sexual abuse, like childhood sexual abuse makes some men fucking retarded. You know? And also, like, if he didn't want me telling anyone, then maybe he should have thought twice before abusing the world's most extroverted person. Because like once I work it out, I'm like, anyway, look, I just needed to get that off my chest. Thank you.